But we did a couple weeks ago, we did the seat, what things it takes for us to build that better rider, the levels of learning, things that we need to keep revisiting at a different level so that we can keep up leveling our riding. And what we want to think about is that learning is a spiral. Effort is a spiral. That what we need to put in, we start finding new levels of the same subjects. So that's what the levels of learning are all about, is that even though we work on our seat and our seat is at a certain level right now, we're going to have to talk about it and discuss improving it and growing in that area in order to move up the levels. And now we're going to talk about fitness and why we want to be fit and why we want our horses to be fit and how to know that we're improving their fitness. And one big why for fitness is that it creates confidence. And confidence creates that level of joy and feeling successful or purposeful, fulfilled. There's a couple of reasons why fitness creates confidence. And I think that this is really underrated. Just that act of doing physical things every day brings up your energy, helps you to feel more motivated and more capable. And when we get into that stagnant feeling, that our body is telling our mind that we are not capable. It's our body is telling our mind all the time, like, why are you even thinking of doing that? Of course we can't do that. Why? You know what? Well, I'm feeling down. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling a little bit incapable. And so your body is telling your mind that, and then that shifts your mind into being less productive, into being less positive and forward. So the best way to start the day is with just a little bit of physical exercise. Even if you can't do a lot first thing in the morning, we're going to talk again about those sun salutations or some kind of a stretching routine, maybe even just a short walk, but something that gets that blood flowing and starts your day off on the right track. Riding horses requires a level of fitness, and not everyone talks about it. It is a little bit of a difficult subject. And I have had in the past clients that I've tried to open this subject with, and they were very hurt or feeling a little bit backed off about the conversation. And what I want people to realize is that when we bring up these subjects, it's because we are all learning and growing and trying to be better than we were yesterday. And it's absolutely never a judgment against where we are. So fitness is going to feel different for different people. And what you want out of your body is going to be different from what I want out of my body. We absolutely have to think about what feels right for us. So tonight, this is just a discussion and some ideas about things that we can do that really aren't that time consuming, but I think overall will improve the quality not only of your riding, but how your body feels on a daily basis. I talk a little bit in the beginning here about the horses and their fitness. And I want to just go through that quickly because I think that sometimes we misunderstand horses' behaviors and we think that they are more fit or stronger than they are. And we think that they're the things that they're doing, if they're acting out or they're running around the place or they're acting energetic, we think that that's because they're fit. But some horses actually will act out because they're not feeling strong enough, because they are not feeling capable of what we're asking them to do. And if you think about that for yourself, if somebody was really pushing you to do something and your body started telling you that it didn't feel comfortable, you would also start resisting that. Your mind might start to say, wait a minute, I don't feel capable of that. And of course, then we would communicate with words. This feels overwhelming. I'm not sure I can do it. Or our body might start to not function the way we want it to. But horses don't have that ability to actually talk to us and tell us what they're feeling. So we need to plan their fitness regime. And then we also need to listen to them in a way that they are speaking to us, not in our interpretation or the way we perceive it, but actually putting ourselves in their shoes. And each horse is going to be a little bit different how they respond to pressure when they're not feeling strong or fit. So in the beginning, we're probably thinking fitness, well, that's, the aerobic fitness. How much, are they breathing hard? Are they starting to get winded? Do they need a break because they get winded? But oftentimes they won't get winded as quickly as their hind legs or their back will start to get tired. So knowing what is the weak link and then making sure that we give that area breaks. Sometimes a kind of an interval training will really be beneficial. And when I was doing competitive trail riding, I used to do interval training out in the woods or around the big fields or these kind of things to build up fitness. And I didn't think so much about interval training in a dressage sense or, in an arena. But it's absolutely possible to do it in that way also, where you do the work in sets with little breaks in between, not complete breaks of 10 minutes, but little breaks. If if we did 4 loops around the arena at a certain pace in the beginning, and then 4 loops in the other direction, and then maybe 2 loops in the walk, and then back, and then the 4 loops. Now, we don't have to just go around and around. The loops can be medium trot, collected trot. They could be shoulder ins or, anything like this. But we want to make them in a way that's creative, but then with these little breaks that we don't get stuck all of a sudden in an argument because the horse actually got tired. And we've talked about that before, where we're giving we have those rules that we were taught about not giving the horse a break until it does something really right, and those kind of things. And we want to be careful that if the horse starts making mistakes, and possibly the mistakes are coming from being, having some part of their body being tired, whether it's the wind or the back or the hind legs or the shoulders or the neck, whatever it is. And then they start making mistakes because they're tired. And then we keep riding because we don't want them making mistakes and we don't want to quit without having things perfect. That is actually going to be detrimental to our training. So we want to think about that. Interval training can be in our dressage work very easily. Forward and collecting, changing of directions, but then, with 1 or 2 laps of walk and then putting it together. Now, why do we not do this sometimes? Some horses, we get their attention, we try to hold their attention for a certain amount of time, and then we're done. And these horses are difficult to get their attention multiple times in a ride. And they discourage us from giving these breaks. But we absolutely must not subscribe to that, because the part of the reason for them not wanting to give us their attention is that feeling that then they get put in a box and we don't let them out for a long time, and they get tired and they get frustrated, and we just keep going and going and going, and then it's their worst nightmares are realized. So a horse that is difficult to put back together, to put back on the aids, we must still give them breaks. Now, do you have to let the reins completely loose? Do you have to let the horse completely open up in order for it to recoup its breathing and to recoup its muscles and not get this feeling of lactic acid buildup? You don't have to let them completely free. We can give them a half long rein, still on the contact, a little bit long neck and stretching out, but still on contact. But that feeling that you can't let go is going to build tension, and it's going to build up that lactic acid, and it's going to make the horse feel incapable of performing. So that's one point of view for the fitness. People like Ingrid Klimka, and there are several other books, but I really like her Cavaletti book. That's a really nice one if you need some inspiration for doing a little cross training, doing a little Cavalettis in between your dressage work. Another thing that really is great if you can get outside is to use a hill where you're trotting up the hill, walking down the hill. And that really can get the horses a little bit stronger, and also, keep them out in the fresh air and getting, some exercise and some fitness without going round and round the ring. So the adding that aspect to your training is going to help your horse stay happier and more relaxed. Be sure to have a good warm-up routine. Remember that, especially if the horses have been standing in the box, but even if they've been out in a small turnout, they're not moving around a lot. So the beginning of your ride needs to be 10 to 15 minutes of walk. Okay? Really think about lubricating those joints and getting that horse really loosen the muscles. The walk can be leg yields. It can be things that, halts and reinbacks and leg yields and half passes and walk pirouettes and extended walk and collected walk. It doesn't have to be just walking around, although I think a good 5 minutes of just getting together with your horse in the beginning is fine before really putting them together. But really be sure the beginning and the ending is a lot of walking. So that also the end where you're letting them cool out, but moving the muscles, not just all of a sudden stopping and standing on the concrete to get washed off. If your horse really benefits from walking outside, then that's a great way to start and a great way to finish. But if the horse is really nervous and isn't good on a hack, then that would not be a way to reward the horse at the end of the ride. Okay. And then you want to pay attention to how the horse is sweating, how the horse is breathing, the tempo of the breath. Sometimes they hold their breath and then the nostrils will be flaring a little bit. Want to really be careful about that, where you're aware. You might not take a break right away. Of course, in order to get more fit, we do need to work them when they are working, not to just take a break because they start to breathe. But on the other side, the more aware of it we are, the more we can plan the breaks at a time that's appropriate, that they don't get overworked, start making mistakes, and then we have to stop in frustration. The sweating is super important, and that goes together with the breathing. I find that a horse that has trouble sweating will actually open up and start sweating. You may need other supplements and electrolytes and things like that also. But my nervous horses that don't open up and start sweating right away, I found it very useful to loosen them up in the trot, get them breathing a little bit, and then walk for literally 10 minutes. And then in the walk, they would actually start to break out, and then I could go back to work in the trot. And if that doesn't work, and you're in a hotter climate and the horse isn't good sweater, then sometimes making them a little wet will also, with a sponge, will also help them to sweat. So that is, I think, the getting to know your horse. Is it have an easier time in the trot or in the canter warming up? Does it feel more relaxed in the trot or the canter? And so how do we get them fit? It is not by making them tense and then short. Fitness comes with looseness and with relaxation. The muscles only get stronger and the lungs only build up resilience with a relaxed horse. So what you really want to think about is how do we warm up the horse in the most relaxed way, then put a little bit of interval training into our program. Each horse, you're going to extend it over the months, right? So if they're working right now, 5 minutes, walking for a minute, working for 5 minutes, walking for a minute, you can start to extend that. They get a little bit more fit. You can work for 10 minutes, walk for 2 minutes, that kind of thing. Take a nice long break somewhere in the middle, of course, 1 or even 2. But the interval training is really going to keep you disciplined about making a plan, listening to your horse, and then noticing what is the weakest link. So why do I have to give my horse a break? Is the back the thing that gets tired the fastest? Are the hind legs getting a little bit tired. They can't carry me. They can't accept the haunch, the half halts as well. Is it simply the lung capacity? Is that what start to get to know your horse, and then you can give the breaks, and you can start to journal and notice when that is getting stronger and how that's coming up to meet the other things. Many horses that have really good, thick, strong necks are going to be a little bit weaker in the back. And so we need to notice that and give the horse a break when the back gets tired, so that they don't start diverting and using the neck inappropriately. All right. What are some things that horses do when they get tired beside breathing heavy or sweating profusely? Is to start to not accept the half halts. They get strong in the hands. They might lean a little bit too much on the reins, not process the half halts all the way through to the hind legs. They also might run along. A horse that is tired on the hind legs is actually going to go faster and run along. And so you mentally, you think that it's not tired, but it's actually responding because it cannot carry itself. The hind legs have gotten too tired to carry itself. Or if the back is getting tired, then you will find that you don't really have a place to sit. Your horse is not really carrying you like it was. Might start to go a little bit crooked, or swing itself here and there, not taking the half halts through. So it can be that the horses respond in a way that you don't perceive as being tired. But if you start to implement these small breaks and interval training, you will find that those things don't come up anymore. And that will also show you that it was a reaction to being tired, not a naughty behavior. Horses will start to spook when they feel incapable of carrying themselves. Many horses, when they start going faster or feeling a little bit out of control of their balance, will spook more because they can't carry themselves. They start getting to the things that they're nervous about faster. The arena, a chair or the door or whatever starts coming up faster than they can process that and be confident and comfortable about it. So you think your horse is being up and excited, but instead it's actually getting tired and responding to that, being tired in a completely different way than we would. So that's horse fitness. If you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat. And then we get to the rider fitness. And mindful stretching will help your flexibility and also will really contribute to your relaxation level. So wanting to ride in a certain posture, wanting to ride it with a good seat and sitting up and open with your legs stretching down. If that type of relaxed feeling and posture is not possible off the horse, it's not going to feel easy when you get on the horse. So, and in our normal daily rushed lives, we don't often stretch certain parts of our body that really need to be stretched and open to ride properly, to be wrapped around our horse and in independent balance from our horse. So we don't want to be clamped on the horse. We want to be open and keep letting gravity keep us in the saddle. And then in a moment of trouble, we might close our knees and put our heels a little bit more down and have to go to that safety seat. But in general, we don't want to be in that gripped on position all the time. If our hips are tight, our quads are tight, you know, the shoulders are used to being a little bit rolled, or your back is used to being a little bit arched, then you are going to be clamped on the horse because your body doesn't have room for the horse in between your hips. So just think about that. So you'll want to improve the range of motion gradually off the horse. And if your horse permits, you can do some really cool exercises when you're riding as well. So what I like to, when I get on, I like to slide my legs a little bit forward and back. If my horse is relaxed enough, lift my legs up off the saddle and just get that range of motion in my hips and loosen up that psoas muscle. I'll do arm circles and things like that. You don't want to be spooking your horse. And if you get on and it's a little bit hot, you don't want, that's not a day for taking your feet out of your stirrups and doing these kind of exercises. But if the horse is relaxed, then that would be an awesome way while you're walking around to get your body also loosened up. So some good stretches that you can do, and you can do some of these standing, so you could do them while the coffee pot is percolating, or even when you're brushing your teeth or something like that. So I really like the standing quad stretch, where you're going to stand with your feet fairly close together, and then bend one knee and use the same hand to pull your foot toward your butt. I really like to do this one not holding on to anything, because I feel that you get two exercises in one. You get to really feel grounded and balanced in the foot that's on the ground, and then you get the stretch. Now, for the beginning, when you have never done this before, your knee is going to feel quite cramped and your quads are going to feel really long. So in that moment, you're going to let your hip be a little bit with your tailbone under, and you're going to let your knee be a little bit out to the side. And that's less of a stretch. And then as you get more, even after you repeat it on several back and forth either side, you're going to start to get a little more stretch. When that starts to happen, you can move your knee a little bit closer to the other knee. So that's more of a stretch. And then you can also arch your back a little bit, and that will create a little more stretch. And while you're in there, if you figure that you're going to do like 30 seconds on each leg, while you're in the stretch, you can actually tuck your tailbone a little bit, arch your back a little bit, tuck your tailbone a little bit, and that will take the stretch on and off of your leg. And if you have to hold on to the wall, then of course do that. Make sure you keep your upper body really straight and upright, and your left, the foot that's on the ground, that knee over the foot and the hip over the knee, very straight. If you're not holding on to the wall, then one way to help you stay grounded is to put your fingers nice and straight and your arm right down your side and resting on your hip, and kind of send the energy down that hand, and that will help you to feel a little more grounded and balanced. But that aspect of it, you might do it for a week or so, letting yourself balance on the wall until you feel more comfortable, or a chair or whatever, till you feel a little more comfortable, and then do it with without holding onto the wall. and stay close to the wall so that you can still get the stretch. And maybe you take your hand off the wall and then put it back away. So you want to, you'll feel that tilting your pelvis will, taking the knee away and tilting and untilting your pelvis will create more and less stretch. Do not overdo it. You don't want to hurt anything. So always make that little compromise. And then as the weeks go by, then make it a little bit more increased. And I like to, do 3 or 4 on each side each time for 30 seconds. And I'll send you guys these. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting all these notifications. I'll send these notes to you. So if you have questions, feel free to ask, but I'll send it to you and then you can read it. You don't have to remember. And then the knees to the chest, I think, is a really good one. Lie on your back and pull your knees to your chest with both hands and really work at keeping your lower back on the floor. And then you want to hold for 30 seconds and then let it loose and then hold for 30 seconds. And again, you could do that 3 or 4 times and that will really stretch your lower back and your glutes. I like to also roll at either before or after doing that, where I put my arms, I'm lying on the floor on my yoga mat, and I'll put my hands behind my knees, keep my knees a little bit bent, and then roll forward and back, roll up onto your feet and then push yourself back toward your neck. Don't cramp your neck. But I like to do that, 8 or 10 times. And you will start to feel in the beginning, if your lower back is tight, you're going to have like a flat tire where it's like, you're on your lower back and then you get to your butt and that lower back doesn't touch the mat. But the more you do it, you'll start to be fluent. And that is it's a good massage for your back. And it's a good stretching exercise to get your whole back, all the vertebrae in your back working as a unit. All those vertebrae need to move a little bit in each other, not be locked. And that feeling like you have a flat tire is where, one of those gets a little bit locked. And that for riders can often be that lower back. So that rocking back and forth can be a really good exercise to help your back open up, but also tell you about the condition of your back. So then the third one is the reclining bound angle pose. So this is just a very relaxed pose, and it can be adjusted depending on how you're feeling. You can use in the beginning towels or like pillows as bolsters under your knees if you need more support. But you're just going to lie on your back, bring the soles of your feet together. So you bring your feet up toward your hips, bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to open up. And then let those knees move forward toward the ground. So you're really opening up your hips, your inner thighs, and your groin. Don't over push. And if it feels like pressure, then put a pillow or a rolled up towel or something under your knees and give them support. And then slowly let them get lower and lower. And that's really a good one for riders. No pressure. You don't have to be pushing your knees down. You just let gravity help. And again, give yourself breaks. So resetting, not staying there for long periods of time. Coming in and out, you'll find each time you go back to it, you'll actually go a little bit further. And that's a better way than just to stay there for 2 minutes. You can go 30 seconds and then come up and take a break and then 30 seconds for 2 minutes total. But I believe that you're going to get a better stretch, not by just staying there and stressing yourself, but by coming back and then going again. So that you're just lying on your back, and you can put your arms out to the side, which is, I think, really nice for your shoulders too. And then bring those feet, touching the feet together and letting your knees fall open. And then the next one is to bring one knee to your chest alternatively. So you're going to let one foot be down, you're lying on the mat again on your back, leg is straight forward, and I like to think about what I'm doing with my toes so my feet won't be passive. Like my foot that's on the ground will be perpendicular to the ground, and then I'm going to bring my other one up and hug it, keeping my lower back next to the floor. And then I'm going to let that one go and then do the other one and just alternate back and forth. But think about what you're doing with your toes, and you can give yourself a nice calf stretch at the exact same time by keeping those toes, your foot upright, the opposite foot upright, and then maybe have the foot that you're bringing toward you, you can point those toes. So you can work a little bit your calves at the same time. And that stretches your lower back and your hips, and then if your hamstrings, and then if you want to add in, that you get those calves and your feet a little bit more supple. And feet can be ignored. So that for me, that's a really good one where you can kind of add it to it, and it doesn't take you more time. So then the seated shoulder stretch, you're going to sit on the floor. So you're sitting on the floor with your knees bent and the feet flat on the floor. Clasp your hands behind your lower back, and then straighten and extend your arms and squeeze your shoulder blades together. So you're taking your hands and then you're bringing those hands up, to the back, and really stretching this. And that one you're not going to hold as long, 3 to 5 seconds, then take the pressure off, and then repeat it, 5 or 10 times. Each time change how you're doing your hands, because that's also important. So we all will put our hands together in exactly the same way, but you want to, thinking about making both of our sides of our bodies operate with equal dexterity. When you can do one, put your arms back, clasp them one way, stretch up, clasp them the other way, stretch up, and that will really help. And how you sit, of course, that's a huge stretch. Also, when you're sitting with your feet pressed together and your knees stretching down to the ground. So if that's too much, you can bend your knees and sit on your feet, or you can sit also with your butt raised on a pillow until that feels more comfortable. So that's great for the shoulders, and shoulders are important in our riding. And then the standing hamstring stretch. Stand tall with your feet, hip width apart, knees slightly bent, and arms by your sides. This is important to breathe. Exhale as you bend forward at the hips, lowering your head toward the floor while keeping your head, neck, and shoulder relaxed. Wrap your arms around the backs of your legs and hold for 30 to 45 seconds. Bend your knees and roll back up when you're done. Now, I am not very flexible in this way. And one thing that really helps me is actually to put a belt underneath my feet and then to hold on to the belt instead of behind my knees. And that just maybe count to 5 or to 10 and then release and come up and then repeat. That helps me to actually get a little bit of stretch. I can't really get my my nose near my knees. So either I'll stretch my back by keeping my knees bent and then holding on. And that's a good thing to do. But if you want to keep your knees, you always want to keep them a little bent, but I actually have to bend them quite a bit. But if you're not super flexible that way, sometimes putting that belt can also give you a little bit more support and feeling that you're actually getting some kind of stretch there. And that one's great. It's great for your neck, your back, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your calves. So the other thing that I find really beneficial is this. No, don't do that. Sun salutations. And it's always great for me. Gives me a really good read on how my riding body is. So where are you? Up here. Here we go. And so we have nice pictures. And again, so you see this, you're going to do it with the breathing. I'm going to send this to you so you don't have to remember it if you don't already do it. But we start in prayer pose and then stretch your hands up and then all the way back. You're inhaling when you're going back. You're exhaling when you're coming forward. I don't look anything like this when I do this. You just go as far as you can. And then you put your hands to the floor. I'm doing that with my knees very bent. One leg goes back, then the next one goes back. Then you lower yourself down from the plank in between your hands. Then you push up into the cobra, and then you push back into downward dog. The other leg comes forward. You're in your forward fold again, then stretch all the way up and back, and then come back to your prayer pose. Now, I usually do 10 of these every day. You can do them as a workout, like pump it up a little bit, do it fast, or you can spend time and count to 10 or so in each place. And so if I do it that way, I'm going to stay, for instance, in the plank a little bit longer to make that a little stronger, right? And to work my core. And then I'm going to go in the downward dog, and I might massage my feet on the ground to stretch those calves. Because in the beginning, I don't get really close into the downward dog. I feel like I can't get my heels down on the ground. But you can put one heel on the ground and then the other and get a good stretch. So there's ways that you can just play with this for what you want to get out of it each day. If you want to get your pump your blood up and you want to get feeling a little fit, you can even jump back into the plank and things like that. Make it a little bit, that you don't stick in each position. But I usually do this first thing in the morning, and I take it very slowly, and I spend a little extra time in each posture and try to let my body warm up into it. It is very, very helpful for riding. So then some other things that can be really useful for your riding fitness is walking. Walking is great for your whole being. It's great to clear your mind. It's great to stretch your body. It's great for your cardiovascular system. So there's so much to walking, and a lot of times we don't feel that walking is enough, and then we push ourselves to do too much, and then we don't do anything again for a couple of days because we feel bad. So really, I think that going for a walk, even if it's just a mile, 3 days a week. If you can get a couple miles in, even better. If it's snowing out, maybe it's on the treadmill. But I really feel that walking just benefits you in so many ways. You could put in a little headphone, you can listen to music, or you can listen to your favorite podcast, and you can get more than one thing done at a time, as far as building your relaxation and building up that good mindset. Like slow jogging is also really nice. I don't think that as riders we have to run, but jogging is also really good for your core strength and your cardiovascular. Be sure to focus a little bit on your breath when you're walking. That's important. And another thing that I find with people that walk that either have had past injuries or have, a little stiffness somewhere, make sure both sides of your body are operating equally. So the same as we would do with our horse, we need to bring ourselves back to the weakest link and then bring this along. So if one hip is tighter than the other, don't walk with one big step and one small step. If one ankle doesn't feel good, don't overstress it by making a bigger step with the other one. Bring your size of your step, bring the rhythm of your steps, the energy that you put in the steps needs to be equal on your whole body. And having this awareness is really going to change your riding, believe it or not. If you're walking like this, that's not good for your riding. So take a couple times, shrug your shoulders, bring your shoulders up, bring them back, bring them down. Can I keep walking with my shoulder blades nice and loose on my body, but open, not closed? Bring a little bit your sternum up so that you're really opening your lungs. Breathe all the way down into your belly when you're walking. So important. And make sure that you're absolutely not arching your back when you open up your shoulders. You want to have that tailbone just a little bit under so that you are building up that core and you're tilting that pelvis in the direction that you want it to be for your riding. Think about how you're hitting the ground with your foot. Are you standing a little bit on the outside or a little bit in the inside? Are your toes stretched in your sneakers? These kind of things are going to you're going to pay more attention when you're riding, and you're going to be amazed at how much better your balance is. So then we talked about the psoas just briefly, and let's just look at that one more time, because this is so important to the riding, and this is so something that you can really work on in your walking, is to loosen up this psoas. So you see why we end up arching our back and then bringing our thighs a little bit to like our knees come up when we're riding, is because of that guy. And the psoas is very much connected to your confidence and to your feeling of security when you're walking. Really think about that psoas. Think about your lower back swinging. Think about that hip stretching forward and back. And that will feel much more natural when you're riding. All right. Awesome. So you guys are very quiet. Does anybody have any questions? I really want to invite you to spend a little bit of time on yourself this next week, and maybe journal about, or for your homework, send me an email about how how your rides went when you got up and did sun salutations in the morning and when you didn't, or if you went through the stretching exercises or if you didn't. Did it have any impact not only on your riding and how your body felt, but how you felt about it? I think that that's really fun to, really start to pay attention to that. And we all get in a hurry, and we all, sometimes forget about taking care of ourselves. If you journal about it and you write about how it impacted you positively, that will also help you to repeat it, because you'll have that why behind it. And it's just even starting off with 10 minutes is going to impact your riding, I think, tremendously. So does anybody have any questions?